Hey guys, what's up? In this video, I'm going to show you a full cost breakdown of what it looks like when you analyze a deal, and then of course what it takes to build or rebuild or add on to a piece of land. I kind of going to go through some docs here, what we saw with the offer memorandum, and then how we went about just our construction cost and process, and then I'll show you some end results and how it all looks. So if you are looking for a full cost breakdown for what it takes to build an RV park, how you take raw land and turn it into a profitable RV park with RV pads and fully operational. And of course, in the future, get to a point where you are so efficient that you are your assistant, handles all the leads and the reservations and everything just kind of becomes somewhat passive, at least remote managed. I'm going to show you all that today in this cool little cost breakdown. Okay, or cost breakdown video. But the first thing you have to do is you have to, acquire an RV park, right? You have to look at one. So in this example, I kind of cut out some of the details. You see this picture from the initial listing. When I saw this image, when I read it really quickly was, hey, I got 5 acres. There's 19 spaces on it with room to expand. I'm like, okay, that's what I was looking for. So I was looking for a while for it. When once it came out, I was like, let's jump on this, right? So some of the details here. There was a small building on site, which we actually still have. We just renovated it into a laundry room. There was some NOI. So that NOI stands for net operating income. In this case, let me move this here. In this case, it was $36,000 a year. The cap rate was 6.49%, and the occupancy was 78%. Now, I actually don't really care about cap rate that much. What I want is some cash flow to cover my interest-only note period, my first year, or my first year and a half. It depends. And I want some occupancy, and I just want some room to expand. So in this case, there was 19 spaces. It was operating already as an RV park. Cool. So now all I got to do is just make it better. That's at least in my eyes, in my eyes. So I did some quick, looking at it. Looks like there's tenants on location, plenty of space, beautiful property, beautiful kind of area to go, be out in the country and live at. And there's a quick financial summary as well, posted in what's called the offer memorandum. Offer memorandum just kind of gives you like the things I'm showing you. It shows you the property details. It will show you like income and expenses. It will show you this is kind of what we first saw, right? So when we first bought this property is at $560,000, so $560,000. They have stuff like price per unit, and they even have a cap rate here, cash on cash return. All that stuff is not to be overanalyzed, and I'll show you why in a moment, because we actually have our pro forma, which is what we sent to our bank, or at least our initial hey, here's our plan, right? And I'll show that spreadsheet here in a moment. It's actually a very powerful tool to understand and to be able to articulate to a banker, because you're going to be using financing for this property. So in 2021, they had some operating income here, $84,000. Let's see here, vacancy loss. They put here gross income, $65,000, operating expenses, $29,000, net operating income, $36,000. Okay, cool. So we have some NOI on the property. Interesting, right? And we have gross income that with less of vacancy is $65,000. There's from property taxes here, landscaping, state taxes, utilities. And I was like, utility bills seem so high, right? Why is that? Maybe there's opportunity. Well, they were giving away utilities with their leases. So I was like, okay, so operating may possibly value add there. They also had some plans that we ended up able to leverage. This is kind of a blurry photo of it. But basically, they were on their way to building the infrastructure for an entire park, but they only built 19 spaces. I'm sure there's a reason for that. Most of the time, it's just from inexperience or lack of financing. There's a variety of reasons. But with that already in place, that means that there was probably some infrastructure to expand on, right? So come to find out, there was 2 septic systems installed. 2 more needed to be built. Obviously, didn't be a road. There's always eastern spaces, but whenever we purchased it, it kind of looked like this. Now, if you can kind of sort of ignore the satellite view, because the east part of this park, where it starts to turn kind of more into dirt, as this is actually us. This is a more recent updated satellite picture. So as we started to demo and build the utility, et cetera, it becomes this construction site, right? Because this is what it looks like from the satellite view. So this is us building that east side of the park. It's just a moment in time captured, right? So as we built this east side, The tenants stayed in the front. They just continued to be there. You would just enter into the park, from the south side, and then our contractors would go in there, etc. We built out this entire space. Um, and then once that was fully built out, we actually asked everyone to move their RVs to the new spaces, which they happily did because they have their brand new spaces. And then we started on the west side. Okay, that's how we did it. But you're probably interested. Okay, so what's it all cost? Tell me the cost breakdown. Okay, so I'm gonna go ahead and show you. I pulled it from our old files here, just to pull it up and give you kind of what we had for our pro forma. I'm also going to zoom in here as well, just because I know it's probably very difficult to see on the screen, and just some details here. So we had to figure out as a company, right? What's our final loan amount going to be? What's our loan amount down payment going to be? So 20% of that loan amount. So if you're wondering how much money do I need to bring to the table, you need to understand your construction budget so that you can understand what it's going to cost to acquire the property. So you can add those two things together, and then you're going to put a down payment on that. So that is how you get into the property, a value add property. So you see the 20% or 25% is more common of the finished project costs, including the acquisition. It's really important. So you see here, there's a 1.2 million of a final loan amount, $240,000 down, the balance of 960, right? You have the property cost of 565. So we have this 20% number that we're plugging in here. So the balance available for expansion, we have here, we punched in 635, so 635,000. Plus we have a contingency budget as well, which we'll show you in a moment. And we'll show you. Now I'm going to show you now where we kind of got this number from. Now this is just a screenshot of an Excel spreadsheet. These are not perfect numbers. Don't anticipate this is how yours is going to cost or how it's going to look. Every project is different, but just keep in mind, this is just what things cost based on our specific project. So we went out and got a water well quote because we needed to drill a new water well because we knew that. So in the construction world, like, you have to have somebody who knows what they're doing, right? So you're talking to your civil engineer, you learn what we need to do. You talk to your contractor, you know what we have to do now in order to make all those things happen that the engineer wants to do. And you need to have subcontractors as well. You need to know people locally what is going to cost them to build some of these things out, right? So we had to build a new water well. That ended up being the longest part of the whole process. So I actually don't recommend, if you don't have to drill a well, you have city water, it's way better. You can go much faster. We had a pretty high electric subcontractor quote here of 174, water line stub outs. And we had 85 plugged here, septic system installed for $70,000. So you see these four items are, I would assume this is 300. Let's just do some quick math. Let me make sure I don't miss the calculation here. So obviously when you have an Excel spreadsheet open, you're able to kind of see what everything cost. Plus 174, 123, plus, I'm just going to put in 70,000. Yep, 391. Okay, cool. So this number right here we have is kind of our summary of these kind of subcontracted out items. And it's really important because we're going off and we're saying, hey, here's the plans. How much does it cost to do your portion of the project? So electric, how much it costs for you? Water line, plumber, how much it costs for you? Septic, what's it cost for you, right? So all those things. So they come back with numbers and quotes. And water well, same thing. And that's what we're plugging in here, right? Now the dirt work side, site work, road work, building pads, all the in between, demo, that's all self-performed by us. We have, our own guys, our own crew that we're doing. So we're breaking these things much further down. So hopefully in this video, you'll be able to see kind of what it looks like to get dirt work quoted, or site work, or stabilization, or drainage, or there's all kinds of different trades within that kind of civil category. I'm just going to kind of show some here. If you do self-perform, or if you do have somebody or a buddy who owns a company like this, you can get major savings, right? So some of the numbers you see here will be lower than maybe what you see or what you're quoted. That's just because when you're self-perform stuff, you're able to save a lot of money, right? So this first category is site work, roadway expansion. So we basically broke out the roadways and the pads. Okay. So in this case, we're going to build 40 pads, right? That was the quantity we had quoted. Now we ended up building 50. So we kind of broke the budget here some. But there's just some things you just don't know going into it. And it's just how it works out, right? And we actually had at one point figured more spaces than that. It's just these numbers are, again, it's an estimate to help you prepare for budgeting with a very hopefully very close, very reasonable, but you can't be perfect. So you can't expect you go into the bank and saying, hey, here's the budget. We're not going to, it's going to be perfect. Well, it's just not, there's no perfect world, right? So you have to keep that in mind. So I'm kind of break this down line by line. Let's get a feel for it. So when we take out when we figure square footage here, there's also a depth to that square footage, right? That's what the Civil Guide does. But we break it out as square footage here to help us kind of understand the quote better, right? So we have site work, labor, clear, and strip site. We have 200 hours here, $30 an hour. So you see $6,000, right? 4 men, 5 days. Base installation, I would say this is probably a low number looking back at it now. $3,600. True grid installation, about $5,000. Base material, 4 inches, $17,500. 57 stone material, 2 inches. So these are material quotes here. So see how these units change to each or by the ton. So this is just materials. Materials are expensive. It's just part of the way it is. Especially what we brought in this true grid material. I'll show you the final product in a second, how it all end up looking. But the true grid material was way more expensive than you typically would have with just a typical caliche or crushed concrete or just base material type road. But we needed it for drainage purposes. So it's $25K is put here for this section. And haul shavings and underbrush, $7,000. So we have this total here of $72,000. That's just for the roadways. Now for the site pads, not just the site pads, we have site work labor plugged in here, $6,000. Base installation labor. We have true grid installation. We have railroad ties, the actual cost of the ties themselves. So I'll show you what that looks like. Those end up taking us way longer than we should have. We probably added a few weeks, not too bad, but it looks nice, but man, it was just a lot of labor to get those in. So where am I here? I'm getting lost. Road ties, yes, that's the material. Base material here, 800 tons, or is it 800 cubic yards? One of those. And then 57 stone material, so 180 tons. You see cost per ton or cost per yard here. I think it's probably cost per yard and then cost per ton is right here. Anyway, so it's different material. So that's why we broke it out. And then true grid, we have a lot more for these pads. Okay, so again, $48,000. Not cheap stuff, right? Haul, strippings, and underbrush. So over here you got $122,000. A big chunk of that is this true grid material. We changed some of the scope here on these later on, but just wanted to kind of show what the initial budget was. Then we have equipment. So equipment is like, what does it take, especially in the civil world, what's it going to take to get it done? You're going to have, you're going to have a backhoe. You're going to have a brush hog. You're going to have a skid steer, a roller, a dozer. Equipment fuel, don't forget that. Equipment delivery and pickup. All these things matter. This is a rough kind of monthly estimates. We ended up kind of renting on and off throughout the process whenever it was needed, but this is kind of just a budget for equipment. So in this case, $28,000 for the project. And they've got engineering and permitting. So I'm actually going to scroll down to a new slide here to kind of show some of the final numbers as well, because you don't want to forget about engineering. I think our engineering number here was actually low. I don't know why we quoted it so low up front, but anyways, we have $11,000 for permitting, miscellaneous engineering cost, an extra $4,000 in survey and staking. I think we surveyed 3 or 4 times. I can't remember. I was like not wanting to do the last survey just because I was just like, why do we need to do this? But anyways, we ended up, I think, surveying more and breaking the budget there. And you see here also we have an owner's allowance of $75K. We kind of just talked it out. Owner's allowance just means like what's some random things we're not accounting for that we should probably plug in a number on top of it. Okay. So the budget expansion project was a sum total of all things I mentioned before. So $635,000 plus the owner's contingency. So total expansion budget for this project was $710,000. Okay. So what's the final product look like? Well, I'm just going to show you the last slide here. We have a fully functioning, beautiful 5-acre, 50-space RV park, commercial RV real estate park. Really, really cool. So I'm going to show you. I'm going to pull this screen down. and just show you what it looks like. And I went out there and took some photos. This is a moment in time, but I think a great example. So even if I show you I'll start from the east side here actually. So this little map right here we have made a virtual tour. To get one of these created, contact cloudpano.com. CLOUDPANO. Okay, so this is the east side of the park before we moved folks into it. It must have been winter time when this was because I can see the trees. And then you'll see, we did the whole roadway, right? We ended up making it a little bit wider in certain spaces, tighter in certain other spaces. And you can see here as well in front of us, here's the septic field. We had to get that permit. It was one of the hardest permitting things, part of the process. But you see that once this back part was installed, we kept as many trees as we could. We actually moved spaces around just to keep trees. Trees are so important, so valuable. So we tried to keep as many as we could, of course. And we did that. Then once we finished, we were able to kind of start to move those folks out of there and out from this west side over to the east side, right? And so now I'm going to show you what that looks like. Yeah, so then folks from now moved over there. We built out the whole entire part of the project on this side of the park. And you see here, it's a beautiful day. It's a beautiful park, plenty of trees, and even the roadway, the road that's there, we have a whole tree line coverage. And keep in mind, it's really cool going from spreadsheet to real life, real world, but there's a lot of work in between there. Actually, I'm going to pull down a progress example. I'm going to pull down actually 2 progress examples for you. When I say pull down, I'm talking about my other screen. So I'm pulling from the screen that's above me here. But this is our beautiful finished product. But let me pull over this so you get an idea of what it looks like whenever you're building. Okay. Yeah, so this is me taking a shot. So here's that existing west side, and look, dirt work's going right here. Press number 2 here. We have these spaces cut out, but there's nothing there. It's just dirt moved by the dozer, right? You can see utilities kind of sticking out of the ground here. Let me see. Yeah, so you have your electrical utilities sticking out of the ground, septic's poking out. There's no grass. There's some septic tanks right here. It's just how it looks when you're getting the place built. It takes time, right? And you're wondering, where's all that $730,000 or whatever $60,000 go? It just goes to every component, all the utilities. It goes to the materials. It goes to the people, the labor, the planning, the engineering, the permitting, the surveys. You can literally see it has a roller out there. There's a skid steer sitting there. So all these things are important and they all matter. It's just part of the process. But it's not just a digital idea. It's hey, here's what it takes to get it done. I'm going to show you a west side as well, a west side example. I'm going to pull that down as well too. It's kind of fun showing all this progress. I actually haven't even stared at this too much. Our west side progress. Go full screen. Yep. So there's me just standing there. So this is after we spray hydro mulch, it's really green, but this is kind of just a progress capture photo. So you can actually see we are installing at this point some of the water lines in a loop. Let's see if I can see a better picture of it here. So the electrical always gets installed actually pretty quickly. I had a really good contractor for that. Let's see if I can show actually the plumbing crew is out there doing it. It's hard to see, but basically there's a trench right here and they're installing the water lines. So when the well was installed, the well house is back here. The new well house is back here. They're actually in there installing these water lines in a big loop. And they have stub outs coming up and they go across the road to the pads that are over here because there's pads that are going to be over here, right? So all of this is just over time, and there's me just taking a picture, over time, what it looks like and what it's like. So let me just go ahead and pull up X out of this one. Yeah, and over time, basically the long story short is budgeting comes first, a beautiful product comes at the end. And it takes a lot of work to get there, right? You got to push. But when you start off, when you start off with this you got someone post this offer, right? Here's kind of like the summary of it. Somebody posts this project on, for sale. You look at it, you see the potential, you see all the green grass. I'll even show you the very beginning here. It's funny. So this is like just trees. This is like trees and just nothing out here, just green grass. So this is what we saw. But a good developer sees not just green grass, they see potential. They see what it's going to be, right? If you a little bit of income, cool, it's going to float us there, get us there. So there's never a point where we're losing money on the project. We are constantly having the project paid for the entire time. There's some plans, there's some ideas of what it's going to be. And then there's budgeting. You should have the right people budgeting, helping you go through the process exactly. And then, of course, you have the crew and the team that goes out and executes and gets it done. And then all you have next is just marketing operations, right? Marketing, sales, and operation. That's what comes next. And there's a lot more to that, and I can go into that more. But this is what it takes to build an RV park and do it well and do it right. There's a lot of little things in between, but this is a good summary of what to expect. Give yourself time, give yourself patience, But I would say, definitely, with the right team, it's worth it. So that was a lot of fun to show you guys. Hopefully that was helpful and entertaining in some way. You learned something today. If you haven't already, like, subscribe, and join the free newsletter. There's a free newsletter attached to this channel. So check it out below. Talk to you soon.